Same place. I've been editing all day.
Hey everybody, my name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Valid on Film. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm so happy that we're showing this great film, Lose, as part of our festival. And I'm overjoyed that we have the director of the film tonight. We have the two lead actors, and we have the director of photography. So let's please welcome the director of the film, Jon Garcia, Ernesto Reyes, who plays Ruben, Jesse Taya, who plays Carlos, and Sarah Weldon, who is the director of photography. Thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this film. This is a film that our committee was very, very fond of, so I'm real happy that we're able to show it, and better yet, to have you here as guests for this tonight. Well, first of all, can you talk to me a little bit, John, about how this actually came up for you?
Sure. Yeah, it was a kind of a 3-year process. It was originally a long series, like 30-minute episodes.
Yeah.
Not that dramas are normally 30 minutes, but that's what I'd created. I was going to pitch it as a series, so it's going to be like 8 30-minute episodes. And then when the opportunity came to make it into a feature film, and so then I just like condensed it down to a really, really long script.
Okay.
Yeah, basically. And then the opportunity came to make the film, and the film was inspired by kind of like growing up in Corpus Christi, Texas. I've been living in Portland for 16 years, but just kind of being a little bit homesick and thinking about, my, where I grew up, and kind of wanting to delve back into my Latino culture to tell a story, and just thinking about things I experienced and things I saw down in the valley near Mexico and Rio Grande, Rosita, that whole area, Harlingen, McAllen. That's kind of where my family is from, and I saw a little bit of some of these things that happened in Luz, and I wanted to tell a story, but I wanted it to be I wanted it to kind of graze that threshold of sexuality, sexual orientation, masculinity.
Sure.
When I saw Moonlight, that was like a really kind of that was a really inspiring film for me, and I just love what that did for for Black culture. I thought that was just a really powerful statement, and that really the moment I saw that film, that's kind of when I'd already started writing Lose, but when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, that's just beautiful. It was really inspiring.
Was it tough whittling down what was originally 8 30-minute episodes into a 2-hour film?
Oh yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I got rid of, we had to get rid of a lot of for instance, a lot of elements of the prison and prison life, other characters, cut out entire characters, entire storylines. Mm-hmm. There was a Aryan Brotherhood kind of, if you will, brown versus white type vendetta happening inside of the facility that they were in, and that got kind of pushed to the wayside. It's now just kind of there, just very slightly. We actually have some, a good amount of footage. I mean, from all that, because Lose as a film, just what we captured, it's about 3 hours long. It's like a 3-hour long film, and I think what we have now is much more just pointed, much more powerful than the longer version. But yeah, I had to. It was hard to cut it all down. But when it came down to it, I think, we tend to be long-winded, and as creators, in the forefront of our process anyhow. So I think what we did capture and what went into the film is perfect.
Great. Ernesto and Jesse, I'd like to talk to you about your characters. Can you talk to me a little bit about each of your characters? And can you talk to me a little bit about your characters before they meet each other and then after they meet each other?
Sure. Well, I play Ruben. So Ruben, for me, it's that's I describe Ruben. He has a life like kind of like lost, kind of like, but in a way he, there's a sense of culture,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like he's kind of like looking to get to a better place.
Yeah.
And in that process, there are things that happen that kind of like put him in this, opposite place of, of where he wants to be, which happens to be in prison, right? And like everything that comes your way with that much weight, which is probably guilt, right, in our lives. For example, in Ruben's life, I think that plays a huge weight on his shoulders, and he's carrying all these belief systems of how he should be a man or how he should be. And so that's the life that I feel like before prison, before he actually gets to meet Jess's characters, Carlos, right? So he's kind of like closed and very observant, analytical, but there he comes to this place where you have to choose, you have to do something. You can't just stay like analytical for your whole life or just carry that weight. So what he does is he finds in Carlos this kind of like a tough teacher, and it changes. It gives him hope, it gives him strength, it gives him like a mirroring situations where he's able to see that you could live and you could be a certain way and you could love. And so that's kind of like the process, the before and the after.
Okay.
I play Carlos. I would say Carlos is he's in the facility, and he's kind of trying to pretend something that he's not. He's trying to be something that he's not. He's got to act tough in order to survive in a place like that. That Carlos has been wanting to let out a lot of things since he was young, but being raised in a Spanish machismo and a Latin machismo culture, I mean, it's not a normal thing to do. So he's been holding that, and whatever got him into that situation where he's incarcerated, before Ruben's character comes along, Ernesto's character comes along, he has a romance with his ex-cellie. And I guess he kind of, I think he's done it. He has come out before, but he's still not that guy to kind of come out yet, because he still has people watching him, and he has an image basically to portray. But when Ernesto comes along, it opens up a lot of doors. He sees a lot in it. He starts showing him basically how to survive in there, and Ernesto kind of starts showing him how to kind of let go.
Okay.
If that makes sense, kind of let go and kind of just acceptance, and it starts building and building and building until Carlos really opens up completely, where he doesn't really care what people think, family members, friends, business, the business that he owns outside. So it's just a transformation characters, both of our characters actually. It's just from A to Z. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
What I was intrigued with was the fact that, when your two characters are in the facility, there's a lot of times where it's just you two, with walls around you, and it's just you two. But when you're both out, I mean, how do your characters have to adapt to being out of the facility and still having feelings for each other in the open?
Well, I feel like the whole meaning of freedom, it's where I feel like they get to discover in their own way, right? I feel like the Ruben that gets in prison and the Ruben that gets out of prison experiences freedom in a different way, because once he learns everything that he learns from his teacher or his lover and all these things together, and then he leaves, then he has to confront all this world on his own, right? Yeah. So there's a process of detachment, and we know what detachment does, right? It kind of like makes us be stronger and grow. So once I come out, the whole meaning of the relationship with him and my goal, which is, I also have a daughter as well, then all these priorities, I start to question, what do I want, and what feels right at this point, how could I put this freedom, this feeling of freedom, and be able to bring it outside and kind of like integrate it. And I think that's where, there's a process of adjustment, and there's a process to adapt and to kind of see that, he's made a life on his own, and there's nothing I can do but choose between what am I going to do, like stay there, or am I going to continue my journey towards my goal, which is to be with my daughter and to be the man that I want to be for her, but first for myself.
Sarah, this film is beautifully shot, beautifully filmed. Congratulations on that. What were the biggest challenges in photographing this and being able to tell this story through your lens?
I think the biggest challenge was the prison cell. It was a real prison cell. It was tiny.
Yeah.
There was nowhere to put a light. So many of the shots where we would see like every wall in the cell. Jon and I had to sort of reconfigure some things. We were only able to get into the prison ahead of time so much. So when we got there and we were kind of on day one of shooting, we reconfigured some things and decided to go with lean into the handheld shoulder mount approach a lot more than we had originally anticipated. But this was Jon and I, this was our second film together, and we had established a pretty solid set of rules for ourselves as far as like how we wanted to shoot it and why we wanted to shoot it in a certain way, and if certain things were happening in the story, how we would adapt to that. So I think that really helped when we got into the prison and we're like, okay, this is a really small space. How do we adapt to just be able to communicate that really quickly with each other and figure out how to make it work. Beyond that, it's a film about light. So coming up with those moments where we could really utilize that, but not overutilize it, and really utilize it in the moments where there was something happening with the characters, some sort of experience that was transitioning them to a new part of their life, to kind of utilize light in those scenarios in different ways. So
exactly. Jon, this film, obviously it works as a romance, but it works on so many levels. Can you talk a little bit about the fact that the film just does talk about so much about what these characters are dealing with their backgrounds and their own personal lives?
Sure. Yeah. So the film, well, it's definitely layered. There's a lot happening. You have two Latino men. They're both incarcerated for different reasons. They're both from kind of different like backgrounds, like status backgrounds. One's a little bit more middle class, one's not. One has ties to the mafia. They both, we're never really sure exactly what, how Carlos is involved in all that, but he seems to be like a hustler. He seems to always kind of have something happening, these guys are, in the beginning, we were like, there's a lot of talk about like, are these guys, are they straight men? Are they queer? Are they questioning? Where are they? Where are they? And those conversations came up a lot, at the very beginning. And I guess I never wanted to, get too specific with that, And I guess like, because the idea of it was that, these two men, well, there they are together in this situation, and they lean on each other and they start to build a relationship, a friendship that turns into something else, right? So it's kind of like just this love without thought of gender or sexual orientation or anything. They need each other, and that leads them to a body exploration, or which turns into love, like so. I've seen a lot of LGBTQ plus films that are doing this more recently, and I think it's pretty important. I think Sarah and I have talked about this before we shot another feature that's a trans love story. Sarah had said, well, it's good to tell stories that aren't about the person being a queer person, but more like a story about, a person who happens to be queer, LGBTQ plus, who's going through something, a part of their lives, right? So I thought that was one of the cool things I think about Lose, is that there is a bit of idealism. There is a bit of, the family is accepting, the friends are accepting. There's not a whole lot of internalized homophobia, right? So there's, I kind of wanted to have the story be a little forward moving in that way. And I wanted to more just focus on this love story within incarceration, within this culture. So, I mean, there is, even with Ruben having a child, and what does that mean on the outside? And can they be a family? Can they be like two dads, in love with a child? What's that going to work? How is that going to work? Can they live there with Carlos's mother, who's my mother? Anyway, so I think we just asked these questions, and then we put it on paper, and then we just, we did it. We made it work. And at the end of the day, we have this collection of ideas and, a collaboration, which is Lose. And so some of it just became what it was just by the doing. Not all of it was planned. So I hope I answered your questions.
Yeah, it's a great question. I felt like when I was watching this film, I didn't know exactly where it was going. I didn't feel like I'd seen this film before, and I really appreciated that. And you've all talked a little bit about the importance of representation, but can you just sort of follow up on that? How important it is to have these characters who represented, but also three-dimensional and play people you've never seen before. And this is for any of you.
Cool. Well, I just talked for a long time. I'm gonna let somebody else.
Okay.
Get up.
Well, I could say that it's so important. I was thinking about that as I was hearing Jon. I feel like, especially the Latino culture, you have that. It's so important for us family, right? So, you kind of grow up every day with, the importance of family, the culture, the value, the food, the getting together, the having like safe money, like all these values and all this in the Latino culture. And yet, if you happen to be, to have a different sexual orientation, then, you don't get to have those benefits. Or how could you kind of, show up or kind of feel like you're part of Latino culture, and yet you could have all these things that the society requires as a Latino person, right? So I think that it's so important to know that, sometimes you don't start living, until you find that freedom as a man or as a woman or as a trans or as any sexual orientation. It's kind of like you're going through life like Ruben, right? Kind of like questioning, how do I get here? But yet everything around me, nothing, it's kind of like giving me that path. So how do I find this? And it's kind of like a quest that until you find it and until you allow yourself, until he allowed himself to kind of say, okay, I deserve this. I could have a family. I have a kid. I had this and this and this. And then, yes, I have a business with my man, and then I could be accepted by his family. So it kind of like, I feel like it's so important to kind of like show that you could have that. It is a little bit idealistic for, it's, but again, as Latinos or as lovers or as people, we have expectation of how what we believe happiness is, right? So I think that the movie did that. I think that the movie gave that, and the characters were kind of like, well, see, like Jon said, like, this is the situation and this is how it could happen. It's going to have the obviously the Latino aspect of it, which is very spicy and kind of like explosive and eclectic, but it's being lived, right?
Right. I want to give a little example, if you don't mind, about that. So I don't know if you remember this, Jim, but there's a scene towards the end. Ruben's character is about to go and pursue to find his daughter, right? Yeah. He just got a phone call from Julio, right? And so he walks up to Carlos and he says goodbye to him, and he gives him a kiss, right? And there was an actress there who's actually our executive producer, Kristen Bush, and she was just supposed to be this, an extra, person who had an opinion about what she just saw, right? So she just saw, two coworkers who work at this auto place just kiss, and then, just in public, like it was no thing, So we tried a few takes where Kristen just was upset. She didn't like it, narrow-minded, and they all felt kind of gross, They all felt kind of like 1984 or something, And then we finally tried one, and we're like, act as though it doesn't have a negative effect on you. It's a positive. You think it's cute, you think that they're cute and whatever, and we tried that, and then that was the one, like having this woman, standing there, seeing these two men, Latino, work at an auto shop in their auto gear. They kiss, they say goodbye, and then Carlos walks up to her afterwards, and she still has a smile that she can't get rid of. And that's her. That was Kristen anyhow, But that little scene keeps coming up to people because it's kind of like, we are her, we are experiencing that through her. It is really sweet, and this is what, life could be like, in some places, and hopefully all places. And just be open and accepting. And anyway, I thought that was a little bit relative to.
Adam, do you say that there was much from your background or upbringing, or was there a lot of personal stuff in this film for you?
Well, I mean, yeah, well, definitely, my, for instance, my mother's in it, right? She plays Benilda, who's Carlos's mother. And so that came to be because the whole thing, lose happened really quickly. So Carlos, Jesse and Ernesto, I think they might have had a matter of days to memorize their lines, So I remember like they were still going over them on the day because it just so happened so quickly. But same thing with my mother. Like we cast my mother, and it was one of the first scenes we shot. She shows up. She's learning the lines as we go. She's never acted before, and she's nervous. But she tells me like I just after she did her first scene, her first kind of big scene that had energy to it, where she's telling she asked Carlos if do you love him? She got emotional, and I think that Jesse got emotional too. And she comes up to me and she's like, "I just pretend it's you. I just pretend it's you." I remember you being young, and it's just really sweet, And so yeah, it is very personal, and not only because she's in there, but also there's characters like Julio. I had a cousin named Julio who had had some affiliations with some organized crime, and so that, and the area that it's filmed in South Texas, that it's supposed to be filmed in, we actually filmed it in the PNW, in the Pacific Northwest. But it's supposed to elicit, what kind of the feel of that I had growing up. And I think, growing up as like a light skinned Latino, I think, the character of Ruben was supposed to elicit that, Ernesto, as with his beautiful eyes and his light skin, like he is a güero, and I think if you don't mind me saying this, Ernesto, I think you told me like when you were little, you did get bullied a couple times. Right. Well, you did say you did get bullied a couple of times for being, for having light eyes, for being handsome, for being a kind of, light complected, and so I think that's how I'm in there. I'm in there through that character as somebody kind of struggling with identity. If I went to prison, for instance, I don't know, who do I hang out with? Like are the Latinos going to accept me, or I don't know. So I was asking those questions with this film. Sure.
So Sarah and John, you've worked together before, obviously.
Yeah, we did. We worked together on the Falls Covenant of Grace.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was the third Falls movie. I don't know if it went to the Atlanta Film Festival. To the Atlanta.
The first two.
To the first two. Okay. Yeah. So we worked on the third Falls film together, and then we did one film after Lose, like immediately after Lose, like 3 weeks after Lose, we did another one. Another feature you'll hear about soon.
Okay, great. Ernesto and Jesse, when did you two meet? When did you? How long before? I mean, how long did you shoot after you first met? How long was there? What kind of period was there?
Oh, I'll let you talk first, Ernesto.
No, tú, por favor,
No,
please.
we met one day before we started shooting. I got flown in. Ernesto was already in Portland. I think he was there a day before me or something. We didn't know each other. We met the day of. Great vibe right away. I was like, okay, this is gonna be great. I just felt it right away. Ernesto was very supportive with the lines. We were. It was a great journey, actually. It was a great, beautiful story. I mean, besides the whole cast and everybody, but just me and Ernesto reading lines at night, trying to memorize our lines, and going back to set. We had to drive like an hour to set. Yeah, we were constantly working on it, working out together. We would go to eat together. I mean, it was just a great bond. It was great. Yeah, just great. So we didn't have too much time to prepare anyway, but we prepared as we went on. So.
Yeah, I think one thing that both of you said, but I remember Jesse specifically was like, "Do you mind if we go off book a little bit, just a little bit?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, definitely. I don't expect you to have to memorize everything like to the T. When we've had like, I think Jesse, we called you, and it was like the next day you flew in, right? And you like cleared your schedule for us. It was crazy. Thank you for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, John. You kidding me? Thank you. It was the best experience of my life. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. So John, you're still pretty early in your festival, and if I'm correct, this is the third. Allentown is the third festival where you've been.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. About three or four. This is the fourth. Yeah, I think fourth one. Yeah.
You'll continue to do festivals in the rest of the year, early next year. What
Yeah. It's showing in 3 festivals this weekend. It's showing in Atlanta and Reeling, and it's showing it out at the movies, North Carolina.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, right now. But that's early on, you know. I guess we could have started sooner, but of course the things got a little bit kind of crazy there for a minute, and then and I made another movie at the very beginning of the pandemic just to kind of deal with like the fact that there was a pandemic happening. I was like, I need to shoot a movie to like to help me get through this. And so I made a little pandemic love story called Love in Dangerous Times.
Okay.
It comes out November 3rd.
Is it a short film or a feature?
It's a feature. It's being put out by the same distribution that's a company that's putting out Lose. It's called Love in Dangerous Times, and it's like a pandemic virtual. It's about virtual love in the pandemic, and we shot it when there was nobody on the streets at all in Portland, so it's kind of eerie. It's kind of like just nobody's around. It's kind of cool.
Nice. Yeah. I have to ask you about the Falls films because I mean those have proven to be so popular. I mean, why do you think those films were so well received?
It's funny because probably until now, everything else I've made has been pretty criticized, to a degree, and so those three films, I think I should give credit to those actors. I think people just see something in them. I think they are in many ways, Nick Ferrucci, Ben Farmer, they are in many ways those people. They've had, they are in heart and spirit, they are like, I know for instance that Ben Farmer, is very Christian, right? Very, very religious. That's very important to him, and I think he's told me that he's kind of gone through some similar sort of type scenarios that Chris goes through in the film. I really do think it's those two. I mean, I love to give myself the credit, but we all but I really think I found the right two people at the right time.
Sure.
And we did a cool thing together, and it just you know, I think another thing that helped those films kind of have a little launching point was that, you know, it was the, you know, Mitt Romney was the Republican nominee that year. There was interest in the LDS faith, and I think the timing was right, you know. But those films, it's interesting that I put, they've been my life's work to date. Those are the films that I've made that people really responded to, and I get hit up about them all the time, and they're very sacred to me, and I kind of want to keep making them, you know. So I don't know what that means, but I get emails about is there going to be a fourth, and Ben Farmer is doing the audiobook right now for the first one.
Nice.
And I'm eventually going to write the book 2 and book 3 when I have some time. If anybody still, you know, cares at that point, hopefully they will, you know.
This question is for all 4 of you. What's it been like navigating this crazy year in terms of being in the industry and maybe wanting to work but not feeling safe enough to work? Just how's this year been for you all?
Sarah, come on.
It's your turn.
Sure. It's been a rough year. I started writing early on in the pandemic, which was new for me. So I think just kind of adapting in that way, and things have started picking up a little bit. I've been doing a lot of work with some really great people and kind of like diversifying our industry here in Oregon for production. So definitely like my attention has been outside of shooting, but I miss it. I want to make creative art with people, and I don't know. I mean, these guys all know I'm a big hugger, so this is a tough time.
Oh my gosh! Like having, you know, just made that, you know, that little picture we made at the beginning of the pandemic, and doing little film shoots here and there. Like I like to hug after we finish the scene. I want to go around and hug everybody, you know, and going around and giving elbows and knees just like isn't enough, you know. So that's been tough. That's been really, really tough. And, you know, Sarah, you work more than I do. I'll make a movie a year, you know, and then the rest of the year I'll be in a cave editing something, you know. But you're, you know, and the rest of, and you two guys you work like, but you two have been busy though, haven't you, Jesse, Ernesto?
Pretty much, yeah. I've been working during the pandemic. So far, it hasn't been a terrible year. I've been working on and off. I even did a virtual thing where I was filming myself, and I'm waiting for that to be finished. But
Is that a feature or a short or what?
It's a feature, but but I was filming it myself, and I was sending the footage, and they were doing VFX effect. I mean, it was just it's not done yet. I'm curious to see the way that's gonna come out.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, same. I think that I'm living in Los Angeles. I think that there was a time where everything was quiet, but then, you know, there was for very little time, and then everyone left, and then I don't know, all of a sudden, like I started getting like you know, things flowing, and I've been on set. It's different, but I appreciate it. I don't know. I do like not the not hugging and all that stuff. I love that, but I think that the amount of time to focus and to just like, you know, get to the point and less time like kind of like in between, you know. So I think that this is a period of kind of like building desire. So once you get to set, it's like everyone wants to like just do it, you know. So I've had kind of like that experience, and I appreciate it. I just feel like, you know, it's a time to appreciate like the auditioning process, and just like this, for example, so grateful to have Luz, you know, to come out at this time where it's a little bit just to say little dark, you know, in the world and in the country and everything. So you guys, you know, being the channel for all these beautiful films to come out, yeah, it kind of makes you be grateful and like stay in the moment and be like, wow, we're doing this. And you know, out of everyone that's doing all different things, we get to the privilege to get together and kind of like talk about, you know, our creations. And so it is a great timing for the festivals. I know it, you know, as an actor, you're kind of like thinking, you know, where's the red carpet and this and this and that. So it's like, where is it? Where's my, but I was thinking about that while I was showering. I was like, wow, it's so private and it's so personal now. And I think that the audience will, you know, will get to see this and see like, you know, what's in the back of the whole process. And it's just people wanting to just create and share. So thank you guys for having us.
But could you imagine all the karaoke nights we could have had? You know,
Yes, you're
all
right.
all the whiskey we could drink together. Had we if we could be in Atlanta right now with Jim,
right.
you know,
We would take you out and everywhere. We would take you to Swinging Richards and you know, I so miss the camaraderie of having filmmakers and patrons at your festival and getting to meet them and hang out with them. That's my favorite part of the festival. But the good news is, with this kind of technology, we can at least all be here and record this and perhaps bring people into the festival that we might not otherwise have been able to bring in. So I want to thank you all for being here tonight, sharing this moment with us. Jon, Sarah, Ernesto, Jesse, congratulations on Luz. We're so happy to have it, and we're so happy to have you here tonight.
Thank you so much.
Everyone. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.